Ladies and gentlemen, this beautiful venue is headed by its CEO, Mr. Srinivas Rao. He is going to be addressing us next, and the topic that he's going to be speaking about is disruption to innovation, how AI and automation are reshaping talent today. So can I have a round of applause as he joins us on the dais?
So I'm going to start with something which I read when I was on the flight. Okay, this was something which came in yesterday's Economic Times, and this was actually an article which was in Business Insider. So there's a guy called Ed Zitron, okay, and I'm going to kind of read from what he said. So Ed Zitron says that he did a survey of CEOs, and potentially 50% of the CEO's job will be replaced by AI. Okay, and there's some sound reasoning there, right, which I'll get into. So what he talks about is the primary duty of many CEOs seems to be able to take optimization decisions based on spreadsheets, right, which are fed to them by consultants, right, and obviously, particularly in the US, there's this huge income disparity, right? CEOs typically get paid 300 times what the average worker gets paid, right? And he says that, obviously, taking the salary disparity and the fact that they're taking decisions based on data which is coming from models, the CEOs can be easily replaced, right? And then he goes on to make a much more telling comment, right? We all know, we've all heard that one of the problems with many of these generative AI models is they tend to hallucinate, right? But he says, unfortunately, when CEOs hallucinate, a lot of people tend to lose their jobs, right? So I'll start with that, and then I wanted to, kind of quickly cover a few things we are doing here at T-Hub and how, we are. So first of all, we'll start with a couple of quotes, right? The first is, all of you have read Darwin? Heard of Charles Darwin? I see only the young lady in Shagun who's raising her hand. So all the old people seem to have forgotten about Darwin. Okay. So, you remember that quote from Darwin about change? He said, it is not the smartest of the species, not the most intelligent, but the one which adapts to change, right, which will survive. So let's recognize that today AI is here to stay, whether we like it or not. Okay. And the only constant is going to be change, right? So having said that, we have to learn how to embrace change. And I'll talk a little bit about what we are seeing, right? So first of all, I can't see Chinmay somewhere. Where is he hiding? Chinmay is hiding somewhere.
Waiting for Chinmay, sir.
Yeah. So first of all, a big shout out to Chinmay and his team. I met Chinmay about 6 weeks ago, right? And when he told me about how he's got to building MyAnatomy and his journey, truly inspiring, right? How a person from a small place in Bhubaneswar, near Bhubaneswar, has gone on to build what he has built, right? And so I found a story of passion, a story of commitment, and a truly inspirational story. So congrats, Chinmay, for doing what you're doing, right? And putting together this event where he's brought together leaders from industry, from academia, etc., to discuss this very important issue is a great step forward. So kudos to you and the team which has put this together, right? So I think these kinds of, I think the way I look at, there are lots of events which happen. So one of the questions a lot of people ask me is, you attend so many events, so what do you get out of them? So my answer to that is, every event you attend, you get to learn one or two new things which you can potentially see how that will impact the work you are doing and how it's going to impact society at large. So we think all of you have heard of Dr. Chaudhary Garu talked at length about OpenAI and ChatGPT. So Sam Altman, in a statement, so one of his statements has gathered a lot of traction. So he came for this ET event in Delhi, and then I think there was this discussion about can you build something with 10 million, right? That got a lot of coverage, but there was another statement he made, not in Delhi but somewhere else, which hasn't gained as much traction, where he said potentially 80% of today's workers would be impacted by generative AI, right? And specifically in the talent space, what we are seeing, and we also have several startups which are being incubated at T-Hub. We pretty much have startups which are doing, I call it from hire to retire, okay, or from cradle to grave, if you will, right? So we have startups at the, entire spectrum of assessment, hiring, employee engagement, compensation and benefits, performance management, etc. And we are already seeing many of them are starting to see how they can leverage the power of Gen AI, right? So for example, if you take hiring, so for example, I'll just give you an example of something which we did, right? And there is a startup here. I don't want to take names because I don't want to single out, but one of our startups, we were looking to hire a business analyst for us at T-Hub. So we wanted to put together a job description, right, for the role, right? So we reached out to this startup. So I asked her, can you generate a JD for the role, right? And pronto, within a period of 2 or 3 minutes, we got a JD for that role. Now obviously that JD had to be worked on, fine-tuned to make it relevant to what we were doing. The next thing is we put that ad out on LinkedIn, the job ad out on LinkedIn. For that role, we had about 77 applications, right? So imagine if we had somebody to go through those 77, screen, shortlist. So we asked her, is this something you can do? Okay. So they said, okay, what are the characteristics you're looking for when you're hiring this role? Experience, what are the desirable attributes which the candidate should have, and so on. So we defined a few, we gave them some, some points and a rating system and all of that. So there was a video bot which was there, looks very much and sounds very much like, what you hear on Google Maps, sort of thing. I wish somebody had done a, Indian version, but that's fine. And then those 77 candidates were interviewed by this bot, okay? And then they shortlisted 10. Okay, so imagine if we had to do this we have a fairly small HR team at T-Hub. We have only 2 people running the whole function. The productivity has gone up hugely. Okay, so that's one thing I want to tell you. The second thing we are also seeing is today for many organizations, when a new employee joins, right, the onboarding process sometimes can be long and tedious. So how can Gen AI be used during the, also we know particularly, of course, thanks to the slowdown now, I don't think the offer to join ratios is as bad as it used to be earlier. But even today, we have a lot of people who don't join, right? And one of the things companies have tried to do is to see how you can keep them engaged during the period the offer is made to the time they join. And also once they get on board, how quickly can they be made productive, right? So from that standpoint, again, we have a large number of startups which are doing work there. And of course, in the Gen AI, from a performance evaluation space. So we do think, I beg to differ with Dr. Chaudhary on 1 or 2 things, right? So whenever you see change, so for example, if you go back almost 350, 400 years, for example, when the first industrial revolution happened, right? There was a sense that many industries, for example, the industries prevalent at that time, for example, textiles was big, for example, at that time. People felt that most people in the textile business will go out of, will become jobless and obsolete. Second, for example, about 120 or 130 years ago, when the first set of automobiles were made, right? There was a sense that, again, they used to be horses, and then horse-driven carriages were predominantly used. There's a very iconic picture which I saw somewhere, where there was a picture taken in 1896 of Fifth Avenue in New York, which had a bunch of horse buggies lined up, and a similar picture taken about 30 years later. So at that time, there was only one horse buggy, right? So people adapt. people adapt to change. I think, we've evolved as people, we've evolved through change. So we will deal with this too. Okay, we will learn to cope. It was possible now, for example, if you take, we've seen, for example, in another space we actively work. For example, we have a large number of startups in the life sciences space. So many of them, for example, are using AI for drug discovery, for predictive analytics, and for streamlining hospital management workflows and so on. So I think while on one hand there will be temporary disruption, okay, but models will evolve which will allow for coexistence of men and AI. Right? That's what I wanted to say. So I think this is a great opportunity for the audience here to listen to several luminaries and discuss pros and cons of AI, okay, and how AI can shape a better future for mankind. AI has so many other use cases in areas like agri and so on, and of course in sustainability and so on. But I think this forum, again, kudos to Chinmay and his team for putting together such a engaging, engaging forum for people to discuss, ideate. And I think the weather has also been reasonably kind today. So it's good to see that we're able to do an outdoor event, even though it's, we are still only in early October. Okay. So all the best to Chinmay and Abhishek and his team. Abhishek, I must end this by saying, I think it will be good if both Abhishek and Dr. Chowdhury, we must find out what air they breathe. Okay. So maybe we should bottle that air and sell it to people, and then everybody can periodically take a, breathe that air to see how, the energy they have can be transmitted. So congrats again and all the best for the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.
We are honoring sir by the names of Cyber Kautalya, and we request sir to please accept this small token of love from our end.
Honor to get it from Chaudhary Garu. He's an icon. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.